So there's a lot of pressure online to, I don't know, quit your 9 to 5 and burn the boats and just take that risk and make that jump into building your own business. And that's usually justified by someone saying that's what it's gonna take to wake you up from this rat race, the matrix or whatever, to get you to go do your own thing. But I think that is actually probably one of the worst pieces of advice for anyone who's new to business, and for anyone, who does take that move, who is brand new to business. It doesn't really suggest that you're going to be making really good long-term decisions for the success of your business. Anyway, business is a long-term game. It's not going to happen in 30 days. And so you really need to have a bit of a step back from the online culture on like an Instagram reel and just understand the business is a bit of a longer term plan. It's a longer term play. You have to develop skills. And the best way to do that is at your 9 to 5. What's up? Welcome back. My name is Mason DuPree. I made this channel just to share my experiences as like a young 24-year-old trying to build his own business and at the same time working a 9 to 5, which is convenient for this video's topic. And I really wanted to share maybe some aspects that people don't really appreciate about maybe their full-time job and how they can actually leverage it to help them achieve success in their own business. Now, when I came out of college, I actually got a serving job at night. And that was so that I could clear up my daytime hours for both being a real estate agent and at the same time building my own business, which was the SMMA agency, or at least what turned into that. And I didn't quit my full-time job. I didn't kill my full-time revenue. I didn't apply for a normal traditional 9 to 5, which might be something that you might want to consider. But I did something that would generate enough revenue outside of peak business hours in order for me to actually sit down and focus on what it is that I was trying to be good at. And what you learn from that is that while you're at your 9 to 5, you almost think more about what you could be working on for your business. And I think that gives you an appreciation, one, for the time that you have set aside to work on your own business, but at the same time, it also makes you think about how you're spending your time. And if you're spending your time at a job, like serving, there are some skills I could pull from it, but not necessarily totally correlated with business. If there's skills you can pull out of the job that you're doing at your 9 to 5, you should do that. And so today, I don't want to talk about how to use the funds from your 9 to 5 to invest in your business and build your escape plan. I want to talk about what you can use or ways you can leverage the 9 to 5 you currently have to help you build your skills and to help you design your business in a way that could be successful, because you literally are sitting at one. There's one that has enough success to hire you, right, and pay your salary. And for that reason, there's definitely some systems around you. There's some other F factors that I want to talk about towards the end of the video that I think are actually pretty valuable. And that's just things you should be taking note of and using in your business. So this brings us to our first point, and that's sales skills. And this was one that I actually got from when I was a real estate agent. I had actually joined a real estate team. I wasn't doing so well on my own, so I was like, I'll go join a team and actually learn something. An example of using your job as a way to learn, right? And I showed up and the team taught me how to use a CRM and how to build out workflows and email nurturing sequences and doing the calls to make those touch points to build those relationships with customers. They taught me sales. And that wasn't something that I would have learned had I been doing it all on my own, because it would have taken me longer to get the leads to have those sales conversations. And in another way, if you're at like my current position right now, I'm not a sales guy where I work right now, but we have a sales guy and we work very closely on how those sales calls should go. What is it that we're pitching? What is our value offer to these people? And what went well and what went poorly. And it's almost a low sort of risk scenario for me to be able to observe sales and watch sales and build sequences around sales and not actually have to be in it myself and learn what works and what doesn't. So if you're in some sort of corporate setting, if you're business, there is revenue being generated, which means there is sales. I would do your best to get in the realm or the orbit of the people who are on the sales team and watch what they do, watch how they talk. And Hormozi says stuff like this, where it's don't just ask them what they do to be successful, watch them. Because oftentimes people who are successful don't even know why they're successful. And so it's better to watch people in action and understand and watch maybe the customer themselves. I've sat in on some sales calls and I watch the client or the customer and I watch the way that salespeople or my boss talk to people, and I can see the way that it clicks in their mind and it helps me understand what the right approach is to selling. And it's changed the way I do that now. I used to be a little bit more technical in sales, which I realized bogs down the lead's interests. It's not really that they care about how, it's really they care about what comes from it. And so that is a lesson that I took from my 9 to 5 that pays me revenue, do all the other stuff, right? To be able to actually leverage in my own business. And that's a skill that you can walk away with. I think people who go to their 9 to 5 and don't try to lock down skills are wasting their time. Another one that I think was incredibly valuable is that for a while there, we were looking to hire some more people at our company. And because we're such a small company, our boss had enough trust in us to basically put me and another guy in a room to interview a couple of candidates. He wanted our real take on that. And I'll be honest, that was my very first introduction into what it's like to hire people. And I still don't know that I've ever built that skill because I technically don't have any employees. And so I don't really want to say that I've figured that out now and that I've really applied it, but I definitely have more experience in the realm of hiring and what you're looking for and how you sift through the stack of resumes, who looks good on paper but would be good in person, what are personality types like, how do they fit with the team, all that kind of stuff was things I would never have run into, or at least would have taken me, again, a lot longer to run into had I not had my 9 to 5. And so I think that is another valuable skill that I walked away with, is just experience in that setting, being on the other side of that table, interviewing people, figuring out what it is that they're actually really good at, what they're passionate about, and what their personality types are to see if they would fit well with the team and with the role. And lastly, my most biggest takeaway, and the one I harp on the most on this channel, and that's the reason I saved it for last, and that is systems. I think while I've been at my last job, I've put in place a lot of ideas. And I think that's the biggest opportunity I have at the place I work at, is that I have a lot of autonomy to be able to introduce and suggest ideas to come up with solutions for problems. And I've come up with some and they haven't worked, especially early on. And then I've come up with some that have worked really well. And so it's a good example of not every idea you're gonna have is gonna be great. Not every one of them is gonna work out. So there's that sort of expectation when it comes to building new things. And at the same time, once something has worked really well, then you can step back and figure out, why did that work really well and how can I apply it to other things? Like, you always walk away with the knowledge and the skill. And that's the thing that I've always focused on. I've taken notes on the hiring processes. I've taken notes on what our fulfillment systems are like, all the onboarding, what email marketing and stuff like that does and what makes that successful. Like, I always try to take whatever it is I can in terms of the skills and put them in my back pocket, because they are valuable and they are what increase your value as a business owner and as someone who can be hired to do a task or a service, right? So the more you can stack skills, the more leverage, the more value you have, the more value your time has, and your ability to have outweighed returns on your time. I just want to recap the whole video. A lot of people have this emphasis on quitting your job to figure it out. And I'll be honest with you, don't do that. Learn how to build successful businesses with the job you have, because you already have basically a case study sitting right in front of you of how one is successful, right? And you may have your own passions, your own interests, and your own other skill sets that you will use to leverage your business, but I can guarantee you there's some things inside of your 9 to 5 that will help you be more successful when you are building your business on the side. And that's just from someone who has been doing it for the past few months while working full 9 to 5. And another, I guess, quick tip is that make sure that what you're doing aligns with what you're trying to be good at for business, right? Like I said, when I came out of college and was a server, those skills don't necessarily apply. You can extract, you can be like, there's sales in there, there's personality skills and things like that, and maybe there's a little bit of getting good at being yelled at and all that stuff, but like, those are small skills. What I'm really talking about is how systems operate and how sales works and hiring and leverage and marketing and all this and that. Those skills are incredibly relevant to my business model. And so I went and found another job that was relevant to that, so that when I'm earning my income to support my business, I'm also learning more skills that would support my business and its success. And so always find a way to do that if you can. That way work starts to almost correlate. Like, one thing I do for them makes sense for me and for someone else and all this and that, and work can compound. You can build one thing that has multiple uses as opposed to many different things that never really build on each other. And so yeah, that's just my rant this morning about sort of the things that I've taken from my 9 to 5 that I think are really valuable and are points that I think people underappreciate about their current job, which is supporting them financially and helping them practice that freedom on the weekend to start building their business, or in the evenings, or whatever it is, or early in the mornings. If you guys have any questions, definitely let me know. If you guys want to see any video on any particular topic, or you want me to go into more detail about certain things, I'd be happy to do. Always leave a comment, because I always reply. I always like seeing some comments in the section. I've gotten some pretty nice ones in the past. Leave a like on the video. That really does help push it and promote the channel. And of course, always subscribe. It would definitely help. But I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys so much. All right.